I was 30 the night my younger sister shattered my world. We were gathered at my father's modest home in Birmingham, celebrating my engagement. The evening felt less like a joyful occasion and more like an obligation. Laughter too thin, smiles too forced. Mr. Carter had made far too much gumbo, and Caleb, my fiance, had already opened more bottles of wine than anyone could reasonably drink. And then there was Renee. At 28, she strolled in wearing a dress that belonged at a nightclub, not a family dinner. Where I am cautious, she is reckless. Where I save, she squanders. Where I plan, she plunges headfirst. People say opposites balance one another, but between sisters, differences don't soften, they cut deeper. Caleb had asked me to marry him just a month earlier, under the glow of city lights on a rooftop in New Orleans. I'd said yes, even though part of me wondered if I was rushing into something fragile. He was steady, kind, responsible, the sort of man you could lean on when life felt too heavy. I convinced myself steadiness was enough. My friends cheered, my father cried, and Renee smirked as if she had been waiting forever, whispering, "Finally." That night, I noticed Caleb clearing the table while Renee lingered far too close in the kitchen. Her laugh floated across the room, brushing against him like a hand on his shoulder. My gut twisted, but I brushed it off as the kind of jealousy only sisters know, the ancient, unspoken kind. After dessert, I stepped outside to breathe. The jasmine blooming along the fence smelled sweet, but something sour lingered in the night air. I didn't hear her approach, but suddenly Renee was at my side, leaning against the railing, a cigarette glowing between her fingers, though she'd sworn off smoking years ago. "You happy?" she asked, her voice sharper than the smoke curling into the dark. "As happy as I can be," I replied. She exhaled slowly, shaking her head. "That ain't happiness. That's settling." I rolled my eyes. "Not everyone needs fireworks, Renee. Some of us are fine with stability." Her eyes locked onto mine, fierce and unblinking. "Would you still call it stability if I told you I was pregnant?" At first, I laughed. One of her twisted little jokes, I thought. But her face didn't move, and my laughter collapsed in my throat. "What?" I asked, my voice trembling. She crushed the cigarette against the wood. "I'm pregnant, 2 months along. And Caleb is the father." The world didn't crash or spin the way people describe. Instead, everything froze, like the stillness before a storm or the silence before someone speaks a truth that can never be unsaid. Inside, Mr. Carter was laughing at something Caleb had said, the clink of glasses and hum of conversation still carrying on like life hadn't just ended outside on that porch. But standing next to me, my sister looked me in the eyes, and set my whole life ablaze. At first, I told myself Renee had to be lying. She'd always had a taste for drama, a knack for dropping bombs just to watch me scramble. In college, she once told my boyfriend I was cheating on him simply because she didn't like the way he looked at me. But this time was different. There was a tremor in her voice. Not mischief, confession. "You're lying," I whispered, though my body already knew she wasn't. Her eyes glistened in the porch light. I wish I was. Usually, she lived in half-truths, smirks, and raised brows. But now her gaze was steady, stripped of performance. Serious. Almost afraid. "How?" I croaked. Her lip trembled, and for the first time that night, she looked younger than me, like the little sister I once shielded from bullies. "2 months ago, when you stayed with Dad after your scare, Caleb came by my apartment to drop off some things, and..." Her voice trailed off, but she didn't need to finish. My chest hollowed. The cruel irony pressed down on me. I had just lost a child to miscarriage, and she, my sister, was carrying one by the man I was set to marry. "You slept with him while I was bleeding and calling it cramps?" My words cut sharper than I intended. She flinched but held her ground. "I didn't plan it. It just happened. It just happened." The anthem of selfish people. Those words excuse anything. Affairs, broken vows, ruined families. From inside the house, I could still hear Caleb's voice, smooth and calm, promising a forever he'd already shattered. You're telling me this now, why? I asked, my voice shaking with fury. Because you deserve to hear it from me before he tells you. We were going to tell you together. A bitter laugh scraped out of me. How thoughtful. Did you plan to hold my hand while you confessed? Make it a family bonding moment. Her jaw clenched, but she stayed silent. That silence was worse than any fight we'd had as kids. This wasn't about stolen clothes or tattling. This was betrayal carved into the bone. For the first time in my life, when I looked at Renee, I didn't see my sister. I saw an enemy. I stayed outside longer than I should have, my legs heavy as if moving would make her words more real. But eventually, I heard Mr. Carter calling my name, asking if I wanted more wine. Before I could answer, the porch door creaked open. Caleb stepped out, smiling at first, until he saw my face. The smile drained. His eyes darted to Renee, and in that flicker of panic, I knew she had told me the truth. You told her, he muttered. Renee crossed her arms, chin lifted like she was bracing for impact. She had to know. I felt the heat rise in my chest. So it's true. You slept with my sister. Caleb opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again, searching for words he couldn't find. Finally, he whispered, yes. The word floated between us like smoke from a fire we couldn't put out. I wanted to scream, to hit him, to collapse into sobs that would bring Mr. Carter rushing outside. But I stayed still, cold and sharp, unwilling to give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. How long were you planning to keep this from me? I asked. Caleb rubbed the back of his neck, staring at the ground. We weren't trying to hide it. We just didn't know how to tell you without destroying everything. A laugh broke out of me, jagged and bitter. Without destroying everything? That's already done. Renee reached out to touch my arm, but I jerked back like she'd burned me. Don't try to make this sound noble, I snapped. Caleb finally looked up, his eyes wet, pleading. I still love you. That hasn't changed. Love. I spat. You call this love? The porch light flickered, stretching our shadows across the boards, long and twisted. For the first time, I understood this wasn't only betrayal, it was a fight over power. Over who got to claim the future we had all been building in our heads. And suddenly, I wasn't sure I had any claim left at all. When we walked back inside, Mr. Carter's eyes locked onto us instantly. He had that sixth sense parents carry, the kind that sees the truth before it's spoken. You all right, baby girl? He asked, his voice heavy with years of raising 2 daughters alone. I forced a nod. I'm fine. But Renee trailed behind me pale and restless, and Caleb hovered like a man waiting for judgment. Mr. Carter's frown deepened. What happened? The silence stretched until it snapped. She's pregnant, I blurted, my voice cold. And the baby's his. The words dropped like a gunshot. Mr. Carter's fork clattered to his plate. He stared at me as if I'd spoken a language he couldn't understand, then turned to Renee. Tell me that's not true. Her eyes filled with tears. It is. Mr. Carter's face went red, the kind of red that warned of storms. His voice dropped low, sharp as a blade. Do you have any idea what you've done? I'd only heard him sound that dangerous once before years ago, when he caught a boy trying to sneak me into his car at 16. I didn't plan it, Renee whispered. Mr. Carter slammed his hand on the table. That doesn't matter. He was your sister's fiance. He was family. Caleb tried to speak. Mr. Carter. Don't you dare say a word to me, Dad snapped, glaring hard enough to cut steel. You were supposed to protect her, not. His voice cracked. He turned to me then, and in his eyes I wasn't just his daughter anymore. I was a woman he couldn't save. That broke me more than anything. I stood there numb while Renee cried into her hands and Caleb dropped his head like a coward. The air was heavy, suffocating. Finally, Mr. Carter exhaled, his shoulders sagging as if he'd aged a decade in one breath. This family has already buried one child, he said quietly, his voice trembling. We won't bury another in betrayal and lies. You all better decide right now what kind of future you want. Because this can't go on. 2 days later, I found myself in a clinic waiting room, staring at pastel posters about choices. Choices. That word felt like a cruel joke. Renee sat across from me, biting her nails, looking every bit the little sister I'd once defended on playgrounds. Caleb was beside me, silent, his leg bouncing like a ticking clock. We were 3 people tied together by something that felt less like family and more like a noose. Blood draws. Swabs. Cold efficiency. A process meant to strip away denial. Back in the car, we said nothing. The results would take a week, but I already knew. I didn't need science to tell me what betrayal looked like. That night, Mr. Carter found me in the kitchen. So, what happens now? He asked gently, as if saying it too loud might make it real. I don't know, I admitted. I can't marry him. That's finished. But the baby. My throat tightened. What if they expect me to raise it? His eyes softened. Do you want to? I shook my head hard, then slower. I don't know. Part of me does. Part of me hates myself for even thinking about it. He put a hand on my shoulder. You don't have to fix their mess by giving up your life. But that was the problem. I'd always been the fixer. When Mama died, when bills piled up, when Renee wrecked her car at 19, it was me who held things together. And here we were again. A week later, the results arrived. 99.9% chance Caleb was the father. Science had confirmed what my heart already knew. That evening, Renee came to my apartment. Her belly still flat, her eyes swollen. She sat on the couch like a child awaiting punishment. We can figure this out, she whispered. You, me, Caleb. We can raise the baby together. Like a family. A family. I repeated. The one you've already torn apart. Her voice cracked. I was trying to give you something you wanted. Rage flared so hot I could taste it. No. Renee. You gave yourself what you wanted. And now you expect me to clean it up. For the first time, fear flickered in her eyes. Not fear of Mr. Carter, not of Caleb, but of me. And she was right to be afraid. Because this wasn't over. A week later, she showed up again. Different this time. Not fragile, not guilty. Her chin high, her hand resting on her belly like armor. You need to stop looking at me like I stole something from you, she said. I laughed bitterly. You did steal something from me. Caleb isn't a thing, and neither is this baby. You don't own them. You slept with my fiance while I was grieving. You could have gone to anyone else in the world, but you chose him. And you knew what that would do to me. She folded her arms. You wanted a baby more than anything. You said you didn't want strangers or donors. I thought it would be better if it came from family. Family. The word tasted like poison. Family doesn't rip out your heart and call it generosity. Her face tightened, but she didn't flinch. Maybe you're angry because deep down, you know this baby is still a chance for you, to be a mother, even if it's not the way you planned. The silence between us turned sharp. I stepped closer, my voice low. Don't you dare twist this into a gift. Don't make me the villain for not wanting to raise your child. Her mask cracked. Her voice shook. Do you think this is easy for me? Do you think I wanted to fall for him? The words hit harder than I expected. My chest turned to ice. Fall for him. Her lips parted, but she didn't correct herself. She'd said too much already. It wasn't just a mistake. She loved him. When Mr. Carter called a family meeting, the air in the living room felt like a battlefield. He sat in his recliner, I on the couch, Renee on a chair's edge, Caleb by the window like he wished he could escape through it. You've both disgraced this family, Mr. Carter said, his voice trembling but firm. But we will not tear ourselves apart over a man. His gaze cut to Caleb. Especially not this man. Caleb flinched. Mr. Carter. You don't speak. Mr. Carter snapped. Not until my daughters decide what to do with you. The room went still. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. Finally, I turned to Renee. Do you love him? Her eyes flickered. Yes. And this baby, it's for you, not for me. For you. Yes. My anger cooled, turning sharp as ice. Then you can have them. Both of them. Her mouth fell open. What? I'm done, I said louder. The wedding's off. The future I built is gone. You two made your choice. Now I'm making mine. Mr. Carter leaned forward, gripping the armrests. Are you sure, baby girl? My voice broke, but I didn't waver. I can't forgive them. Not now. Maybe not ever. But I can walk away before their betrayal destroys me. Caleb stepped forward, desperate. Please don't. I raised my hand. Don't you dare beg me. You already begged for forgiveness with your body, and you gave it to her. His face crumpled, but I didn't look away. When I stood, I didn't feel powerful or vindicated. I just felt free. Renee reached out, her voice breaking. Please don't hate me. I met her eyes. I don't hate you, but I'll never see you the same again. And with that, I walked out. The door clicked shut behind me, sealing them all in a room full of broken promises. The world outside was cold, sharp, alive. For the first time in months, I breathed without choking. The story wasn't over. There would be court dates, custody battles, whispers in our small town. But the chapter where I trusted them, that one was closed. And as I drove away, I realized something I hadn't dared believe until then. Survival isn't always about forgiveness. Sometimes, it's about choosing yourself. When the dust settled, I understood something I had spent years avoiding. Survival doesn't always mean forgiving others. It means choosing yourself, even if it means walking away from those you thought you could never lose. My story isn't about revenge or bitterness. It's about reclaiming my own life when everything I trusted crumbled. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is close the door, breathe deep, and keep moving forward, free.